Sergio Perez admitted he's starting to feel left behind with how Red Bull's development is going, as he senses the team is making it notoriously difficult for him to keep matching Verstappen, costing him his own shot at the championship crown this season. After last season's Red Bull car being built all around Max, the brand new 2022 machine proved to play into Perez's hands better than Verstappen's, as both drivers admitted it's indeed Sergio who adapted to the all-new beast like a duck to water, whilst Verstappen often voiced his displeasure with the nature of the car. But Red Bull are now starting to gravitate once again towards their latest world champion, tailoring new updates Verstappen's way while throwing the Mexican under the bus. Something Perez now opened up about, admitting the car development is going away from me, as he's finding the Verstappen direction in Red Bull's updates far more difficult to tame than previously. We're going to look at what exactly Red Bull changed, what Perez had to say about it, and why are prominent Red Bull team members now openly suggesting that Perez is simply a second fiddle to Verstappen. But first, let's look into what Perez even means by matching Verstappen. After Max completely wiped the floor with Perez in their first year as teammates, no one expected anything to change in 2022. But that it did. Perez came alive this season, already recording a pole position in what was just the second race on the calendar in Saudi Arabia. He then proceeded to be in contention for the win in Spain, achieved the ultimate redemption in Monaco, and once again out-qualified Verstappen in Baku. But it's been going downhill ever since for the Mexican, as he struggled to reach Verstappen's level in both Canada and Silverstone, being significantly further adrift of his teammate than earlier in the season. Something which he now attributed to Red Bull's switch in priority with car development. During Thursday's press conference ahead of the Austrian Grand Prix, Perez opened up about the changing landscape down at Red Bull. "I haven't been as comfortable with it, the development of the car, as I was in the beginning. Let's put it that way," Perez suggested, carefully picking his words. "It's just going away from me in terms of how comfortable I was in the beginning," he further confirmed. Perez is currently 34 points behind his championship-leading teammate, a gap many feel isn't sufficient enough for a team to start prioritizing one driver over another. But Red Bull are introducing changes nevertheless, trying to maximize their chances with Verstappen. So, what are those? Verstappen's driving style demands a pointy, more front-end reliant and stiffer race car, the exact opposite of what the RB18 was in the earlier stages of the season, and the exact opposite of Perez's own car preference, as his smoother and less aggressive driving style doesn't demand so much grip from the front axle. But starting in Montreal, Red Bull have now begun to tweak the car in Verstappen's direction, which is the very reason for Perez's struggles, effectively killing the Mexican's championship hopes and firmly signaling once again who is the number one and who's at the team to simply play a support role. When asked about his own title bid slipping away just a few moments after his car development complaints, Perez was hesitant to write it off completely just yet, and once again picked his words wisely, making sure he doesn't publicly criticize the team, choosing reliability as his main concern rather than pointing to the obvious. But speaking about the changes in the nature of the car further, Perez had the following to say: "I think I've got some work to do to understand what's going on and hopefully have a more straightforward weekend here in Austria. But saying that, I've had only 2 races of this, and last weekend I wasn't up to it. I was feeling pretty bad, so I think this is the first weekend where I will see really," Checo added, referring to the new car philosophy and confirming the changes of adding front end to the Red Bull indeed started 2 race weekends ago in Canada, which is exactly the place where his struggles with matching Verstappen started after out-qualifying him for 2 weekends straight in Monaco and Baku. Up until Canada, Perez's average gap to Verstappen was almost non-existent, as he usually finished between 1 and 3/10 of his teammate. But he crashed out of qualifying in Montreal and was a whopping 6/10 adrift from Max in Silverstone, where Verstappen didn't even manage to set a representative Q3 time, with his final lap being purple up until it got spoilt by yellow flags. But it's not just the car development that's suggesting Red Bull are starting to step in, making sure to establish a clear number 1 and number 2. Christian Horner remained largely neutral, and apart from his comments of Perez getting way too old and the current contract likely being his last in F1, he was very supportive of Checo, even publicly defending him on multiple occasions, stating the team is the priority after Monaco, and referring to it as Red Bull racing, not Sergio Perez or Max Verstappen racing. But all of that quickly got diminished when the team's infamous advisor, Helmut Marko, once again went into the spotlight ahead of the Austrian Grand Prix to talk up Verstappen, and where he didn't mind praising Perez for understanding his role, as he pointed to Checo not fighting Max as his biggest value to the team. Max can drive any car fast. That's why having Sergio Perez as his teammate is perfect. Checo doesn't try to fight, but does everything he can, and that can lead to victory as it did in Baku last season. The two work very well together, Marko added, instilling the clear favorite within the team. Marko's comments are often unnecessary, completely out of place, and overly critical. Openly saying your driver's best attribute is not fighting his teammate only goes to further reaffirm the Red Bull landscape being all about Max, and certainly doesn't do many favors to Perez's confidence, which now undeniably needs a boost rather than referring to him as a second driver. But despite all this, can you really blame Red Bull? All teams that went through a period of dominance had a clear first and clear second driver. Whether it's Hamilton and Bottas, Schumacher and Barrichello, Vettel and Webber, or now Verstappen and Perez, there is always a clear favorite, and if that number one driver role gets selected simply based on performance, one can't argue it's not fair. We're quickly approaching the summer break, the time where these things usually get settled, but Red Bull did not even need to wait until the 1-month gap between Hungary and Belgium to make the tough decision. Verstappen already recorded 6 wins this season, which really should have been 7 given he was cruising to victory in Silverstone up until that angry piece of debris got stuck in his floor and completely ruined his race. On the other hand, Perez only stood on the top step of the podium once, which was largely due to overtaking being completely impossible on the narrow streets of Monaco, as the top 4 finished just 3 seconds adrift, which would surely mean changes in positions on other venues. So, whilst it's a shame Red Bull are now putting a massive roadblock to Perez's earlier momentum, especially given the Mexican is having the season of his life, it is understandable that they want to maximize their chances with Verstappen, as within Max they have a driver who is always firing on all cylinders, and, if paired with machinery that is developed all around his driving style, is completely invincible. At the same time, this shift to a stiffer, pointier car is in its very beginnings, and Red Bull will most likely perform small adjustments on the Perez side of the garage when it comes to setup, allowing the Mexican to at least somewhat maximize the potential of the car. The best solution would ideally be to go in 2 completely separate directions, keeping the older version of the RB18 for Perez and tweaking Max's car to his liking. That would then result in a level playing field between the two despite the car being everything but level. But that then completely defeats the purpose of a number 1 and a number 2 driver, as the last thing Red Bull want is the two of them fighting for the title, as they would much rather prefer Verstappen cruises to victory, whilst Perez secures the Constructors' Championship by strong points hauls. And while Perez reaffirmed he's still seeking to beat Verstappen to the title this Thursday, he later admitted he'd still be happy if Max wins the title, really putting to show he accepted his second driver role, as that's inevitably what he signed up for when joining the team. But we want to know what you guys think. Do you think Red Bull are making the right decision switching to Verstappen? Is it fair? Did Perez ever even stand a chance against Verstappen? And what do you make of the whole situation in general? Do you agree with it? Let us know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the subscribe button and send it to that one Formula 1 obsessed friend we all have. You know who we're talking about, don't you? So make his day and send him the video.